The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Franklin D. Roosevelt. That was the opening of my very first speech here at Moody's Toastmasters. The speech was called Facing My Fears. In that speech, I told about a story that happened to me when I was a child that had an impact on my adult life. I was 6 years old, and I was in a school musical. Everything was going great until I hit the stage, and I looked out into the audience, and I froze. I couldn't move. I didn't feel anything, it's just that I couldn't move. And then I heard a tiny voice say, "She can't dance." That was it. I was no good after that. I just stood there. Finally, my teacher escorted me off the stage. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, facing your fear is the first step to conquering your fear. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 steps to conquering your fears. I call these AAAs. The first step is acknowledge your fear. The second step is analyze your fear. And the third step is action. First step, analyze your fear. Before I go into my fear, I'd like to find out, does anyone here have anything they're afraid of? What'd you say?
Snakes.
Snakes. Yeah, that's pretty
Public
scary.
speaking.
Public speaking. You got mine. Snakes, public speaking. Now just keep in mind, these steps can work for any of these fears, but I want to address my fear just so we can go through the speech. My fear is extemporaneous speaking or speaking off the cuff. Public speaking, as Salim just mentioned. A few years back, I had an interview that bombed. I mean, I don't even want to tell you how bad it was. I'm really embarrassed. It was so bad that I could not answer any question. Every time the interviewer would ask me a question, I had the answer in my mind, but I was, it was gibberish. It was so terrible that the interview lasted about 10 minutes. And as I'm walking out of the room, the receptionist says, "That was quick." That didn't make me feel any better. I realized then, I said, I have to do something about this. That same year, Moody's had their first demo for Toastmasters. And I said, that's it. That's exactly what I need. And that's exactly what I did. As I think back to that interview, I realized something. There's one thing I didn't do. I didn't breathe. You have to breathe. I think I was in the interview like, it was horrible. So we're in the acknowledgement phase. Just let's take a minute, breathe. We thought about what is it we're afraid of. And that leads us to step 2, which is analyze. What brought you to this fear? Think back. I know for me, we all know where mine came from, my stage fright story. But for yourself, just think back to yourselves, like, why am I afraid of this? Why am I afraid of snakes? Why am I afraid of public speaking? What got me to that point? Then we're going to think about, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, I know for me, the worst thing that can happen is if I bomb like I did in my interview. Or I may offend someone with what I say, or my speech may not go over so well. Then we're going to look at, what's the best thing that can happen? The best thing that can happen is I inspire someone today. The best thing that can happen is I encourage someone to face their fears. And on the same note, in the positive light, I like to do positive affirmations. It helps me stay more positive. And the thing that you keep in mind with affirmations is you state it in the present as if it's happening now. So my affirmation today would be, I am an effective communicator. I am inspiring my audience. I am a public speaker. Now that leads us to step 3, which is the action step. We thought about it, we talked about it. Sometimes you just gotta do it. This is where you take action. And what I did for myself is I joined Toastmasters. I feel like it's really made a difference for me. I am a much better speaker. Also, I practice at home, I practice in the mirror, I do my affirmations. These are all things that's helping me become a better communicator. As far as yourselves, don't start out with anything too big. Take small steps. Every little bit counts towards your goals. Also, don't be so hard on yourself. Allow yourself to make mistakes. This is the time when you're learning and you're growing. And the only way you're going to grow is to make mistakes. Another thing that I think is helpful is to try new things. Sometimes when you get in a rut, sometimes when you're doing the same thing, you're in a mundane routine, but trying something different, it mixes things up. It also allows you, when you're facing something new, it doesn't throw you so much because you're already used to doing new things. This past weekend, the Guitar Center had free guitar lessons. On a fluke, I just decided, why not? It was the best experience. I've never held a guitar before. I mean, believe it or not, I'm a singer who never held a guitar. But it was great. And I did it because I wanted to try something different. I wanted to mix it up. And, well, I learned that I need to cut my nails if I want to play guitar. But it was wonderful. So I encourage you all just to try something new. In conclusion, I hope this speech has inspired you. I hope I've given you tools that you can use to conquer your fears. Remember the AAAs. Acknowledge your fear, analyze your fear, and take action. Fear is a door. You can think about what's on the other side of that door. You can think you know what's on the other side of that door, but until you walk through that door, you'll never know. But once you walk through, you realize, I should have done this a long time ago. So what are you waiting for? Keep facing your fears, and you will conquer them. Madam Toastmaster.